Congress and NCP will meet the Shiv Sena today after the alliance parties finish deliberations on their part. Senior leader of Congress, Petra, has said that the two parties are in complete agreement and that the Sena is also being kept in the loop. Sources confirm that the alliance has been named Maha Vikas Aghadi and that the Shiv Sena will get the Chief Minister's post for 5 years. Thousands of officers gathered outside Portugal's parliament in Lisbon to demand higher salaries and better working conditions. 5 years after the biggest ever police protest in Portugal, shouting zero tolerance, police officers have bussed in from towns across the country, marched through the city centre asking for better salaries and new equipment and improved benefits and a review of their health and safety conditions. Colombian unions and student groups marched as part of a strike to insist the government maintain minimum wages for young people and the universal right to a pension. In a time of widespread unrest in other Latin American countries, police this week raided activists and a culture magazine ahead of the protest, while Colombia's president warned his government will not tolerate violence. The president also has repeatedly denied that he plans to propose pension and tax reform laws containing the changes alleged by protesters. Hundreds of protesters staged a peaceful sit-in in a shopping mall to mark 4 months since a mob attack at the nearby UN Long subway station. The protest marked the night of July 21st, when more than 100 white-shirted men stormed the UN Long station, attacking black-clad protesters as well as passerbys, journalists and a lawmaker, wounding 45 people. Defiant protesters said they were not given to pressure from the government or from the white terror, referring to the white-shirted mob who led the UN Long attack. Supporters of ousted Bolivian leader Evo Morales marched into the capital La Paz carrying coffins of people killed in clashes with the military and police. They drew attention to the human cost of the crisis gripping the South American nation. Security forces fired tear gas to disperse the crowds after demonstrators placed one protester's coffin and an effigy of interim President G9 and on top of an armoured military vehicle and tried to enter the square where the presidential palace is located. Greenpeace activists hung from a large storage tank and changed themselves to the gate of a petroleum refinery near Athens to protest the company's oil and gas exploration projects across Greece. The activists unfurled a large banner on the tank and also blocked the entrance to the petroleum refinery with a sit-down protest. Some of the protesters held up banners reading, "This is a climate emergency." WeWork said it is laying off around 2,400 employees globally as the company seeks to drastically cut costs and stabilize its business. The long-anticipated layoffs are the biggest move yet by Japanese technology investment company SoftBank Group, which is providing a $9.5 billion lifeline and will soon own about 80% of its shares. Under co-founder and ex-CEO Adam Neumann, WeWork had become bloated and was diversifying into all kinds of areas, including setting up a school, running apartment buildings, and was expanding at a speed without any clear route to profitability. A Boeing 777 bound for Manila suffered an apparent engine failure shortly after takeoff and made an emergency landing in Los Angeles. Soon after, Philippine Airlines Flight 113 departed from Los Angeles International Airport. Pilots reported a possible engine failure and landed without incident. After takeoff, flames and smoke were seen coming out of the right engine.
Why is that going off?
The latest lawsuit against the state of Jeffrey Epstein was announced recently. The plaintiff said that Epstein offered to help her when she was living on her own and supporting herself at the age of 17, but instead sexually abused her repeatedly at his homes in various places. A U.S. judge rebuked Jeffrey Epstein's estate for keeping the late financier's alleged victims in dark about a fund that would compensate them for claims of sexual abuse. Meanwhile, Epstein hanged himself in a Manhattan jail in August while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges. Spain Coast Guard rescued 79 migrants, including 9 children and 3 women at sea near the Canary Islands coast after spending 6 days on the water. Migrants were found 60 miles away from the Gran Canary Island by Spanish Coast Guards, who took them to a port in southern Gran Canaria, where they received medical attention at Red Cross Campaign Hospital. The islands is one of the main European destinations for migrants who tried to make the dangerous journey from North Africa 2 weeks ago. Thousands of Catholic devotees gathered at Bangkok's National Stadium ahead of Pope Francis's anticipated Holy Mass. During his visit to the Southeast Asian country, the Pope is expected to speak out on human trafficking and to urge compassion for refugees. Thailand's Catholics number just a little more than 380,000 in the country of more than 65 million, but the small community has thrived. The first foreign asylum seeker arrived in Guatemala from El Paso, Texas, under a U.S. agreement that establishes it as a so-called safe third country to process people fleeing persecution in their homeland. A program similar to European ones that push asylum seekers to Turkey is a policy achievement for U.S. President Trump, who has made cracking down on immigration a central plank of his 2020 re-election campaign. The arrival of the Honduran man, Erwin Arden, in the Guatemalan capital marks a historic shift in how the U.S. treats people seeking asylum protections. Britain's Prince William took part in the Tusk Conservation Awards in London. The Duke of Cambridge presented 3 awards before delivering a short speech to those who had gathered. Tusk Conservation Awards to celebrate the extraordinary work of dedicated, people from across Africa. Two bolts of lightning were seen striking near a passenger plane on the runway at New Zealand's Christchurch International Airport, narrowly missing the aircraft. An aviation employee was watching the storm and assessing the risk for aircraft to be moved inside the hangars at 3:30 p.m. local time when he captured the moment on his mobile phone. The aviation operator says the lightning did not directly hit the Emirates Airbus A380 aircraft and there appeared to be no damage to the plane. Six patients and survivors of breast cancer showed how to perform a breast self-exam on a commercial flight over the Andes of Ecuador. Displayed their scars covered by colorful mandalas. US police dashcam video shows the moment an Amtrak train smashed into a car parked over the train tracks in New Jersey. The video shows the train heading south hit the car, destroying it and sending it into a police car. People running for cover can be seen as the train approaches towards the car. The 2020 New York City taxi drivers calendar is here. Posing with their yellow caps, most of the drivers are topless and few also seem to have been working out for the event. Philip Kirkman and his wife Shannon created the first NYC taxi drivers calendar in 2013 as a fun way to spotlight some of New York City's most underappreciated workers. 2020 will be the eccentric calendar's final year, as Kirkman said that the idea has simply run out of gas. The giant panda Bei has now settled into his new home in southwest China Sichuan province. After a 16-hour trip, a charter flight carrying Bei landed in Chengdu. Then the male panda was transported by a vehicle to the China Conservation and Research Center. A grand welcoming ceremony was also held for the Chinese-American panda. At the ceremony, hundreds gathered to welcome Bei home to China from the Smithsonian National Zoo of Washington. Jordan's Asian city of Petra marked its 1 millionth visitor as crowds celebrated the historic site's milestone. American tourist Allison Carey was greeted by cheering crowds and balloons as she brought the 1 millionth ticket. She is, in fact, on her honeymoon and was given a permanent ticket to the ancient city. This is the first time in the country's history that 1 million visitors have visited Petra within a single year, according to Petra Development and Tourism Authority. A 1939 comic book that introduced Marvel characters for the first time sold for a record $1.26 million at auction in Dallas. Marvel Comics #1 features the first appearances of characters including Human Torch and the Submariner. Decades later, Marvel debuted Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk and other superheroes that have headlined recent blockbuster movies. The item was originally purchased as well. A French city celebrated the day where the annual tradition of uncorking the world-renowned wine is celebrated every year. A month ago, the Trump administration put 25% tariff on French winemakers. However, winemakers believe the US is still a good wine market and the tax will not stop him from trying to enter it. In 2018, the United States imported 13,000 hectoliters of wine, which represent 15% of the French wine's exports. The US move to impose taxes on their wares has brought little cheer to producers around France, who fear a possible hit to their business.